The flashback episode, it just did so much to help us kind of understand what it is that like Duncan has been searching for his entire life. He's just been spending his entire life chasing safety and chasing companionship. Medieval era and Westeros in general is dangerous, and we have seen countless people lose their lives.
Sure.
But the difference is that there is recourse. All of the deaths that we have seen in both of the other shows so far have been like these big and important moments where we all know something is going to happen because of this. When we lose Rafe, you know absolutely nothing will happen. Her body is left there in the street. Even what happens to the other two guys, right? That guy was beheaded in the middle of the day.
His head rolled into the pig feast.
And nothing is going to happen, right? Like nobody is watching, nobody is paying attention. And so you are constantly vulnerable. When you are in situations like that where you know you are not safe, the one thing that you do need is somebody.
Yeah.
Like you need a person. That sequence where he's just following behind Pennytree.
Yeah.
Just because he feels slightly less alone, even if he's not with him. Even if Pennytree has no idea that he's there, just him being within eyesight of him makes him feel slightly less alone and slightly less scared is so heartbreaking. But then it makes everything about his character make sense.
Yeah.
The fact that that's all that he was looking for, and he finally gets that companionship in Pennytree, and that's why it's so devastating when he's gone. Crazy Stupid Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we are here to do our Season 1 review of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, a.k.a. Duncan Egg.
Yes, a.k.a. Game of Thrones. First time we didn't get the theme song in the TV show.
And I think that's good.
Yeah.
I thought it was very funny in the first episode when they almost did it. And then they were like, no, because this ain't that type of show. And they're right. It's very different.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the theme song would fit. It's like it needs to feel like its own entity.
And the 30 minutes worked.
Oh, yeah.
I remember talking to my friends about this, like, hey, hold on, I'm feeling this 30 minutes. Like, you know, it works because like the scale is a little bit smaller than like the other two TV shows. And so like it's a little bit more personal, and it legit felt like I was watching a comedy. You know?
I feel like they did everything they could to signal to viewers like, yes, this is part of the world of Game of Thrones. It's in Westeros. And also this is very different from either of the other things that you've gotten, which I like. And that makes me feel more optimistic about like the various spinoffs that they're trying to do, because they're showing that this world has versatility in the types of stories you can tell. And I think that's a necessity if you're going to try to, like, if you insist on building it out, you know, like if you're going to keep doing it. I think it's necessary that you can tell a variety of stories with a variety of tone that all still feel like they are being told well and like they matter. And the first thing that I really noticed, and I feel like this is kind of part of what they signaled very early on when they didn't play the theme song, is just like this show, because of who it is centered around, it has like none of the glitz and glamour, right?
Yes.
We are very accustomed to spending our time in Westeros with the quote unquote important people, with the houses, you know, like
Highborns,
the Lannisters, the Targaryens, the Starks, all these very, very important people. And so the picture that we get of what Westeros is like is very skewed. And very early on, in like from jump, they were like, that's not what this is. Okay, there is nothing pretty about this. There is nothing glamorous about this. These people are in the trenches.
I feel like in Game of Thrones, we got a few moments of Flea Bottom. We got a couple of glimpses of the world, like when Arya and the Hound are kind of on their journey. But I feel like this show did such a good job of showing you that George R. Martin is very intentional on critiquing classism in the various ways that it shows up. Flea Bottom it's its own world, right? They have their own codes. When Duncan and his friend Rafe are dealing with that bully, he says like stealing from nobles is still stealing. And then Dunk asks him, well, what about stealing from us? And he says, that's just life. They've got their own social codes there, primarily because the social contract with this group of people that is supposed to be governing and protecting them, i.e. King's Landing and the Targaryens, they do such a horrible job.
They don't care about that.
Yeah. Right? The war is over, and you can see it looks like these are like veterans on their way back, right? There's no real maesters around, right? Like, people are getting their arms and limbs taken care of in the worst way. And Duncan and Rafe are kind of just like walking around like it's normal. They're desensitized to the violence. They're desensitized to the grotesque living conditions that Flea Bottom has in comparison to what it looks like with King's Landing.
I also think, like, talking about that flashback, because I do want to just like talk about Dunk for a little bit. I feel like that the flashback episode, it just did so much to help us kind of understand what it is that like Duncan has been searching for his entire life. Like Flea Bottom, like you were saying, it's a place that it has its own rules, but it's also very unsafe, and it's very overlooked. Like, people are not cared for there because there's nobody paying attention. And so like his existence is very vulnerable. It's very clear, like, you are living in a world where anything and anyone can be taken from you at any time, and there is no recourse. Nothing will happen. Like, yes, medieval era and Westeros in general is dangerous, and we have seen countless people lose their lives.
Sure.
But the difference is that there is recourse. There is something that is going to be done. It is taken seriously. All of the deaths that we have seen in both of the other shows so far have been like these big and important moments where we all know something is going to happen because of this. When we lose Rafe, you know absolutely nothing will happen. Her body is left there in the street. Even what happens to the other two guys, right? That guy was beheaded in the middle of the day.
His head rolled into the pig feed stein.
And nothing is going to happen, right? Like, nobody is watching, nobody is paying attention. And so you are constantly vulnerable, right? Constantly vulnerable. His mom, whatever happened with her, we don't know. He doesn't know. But you see, it's like he's just been spending his entire life chasing safety and chasing companionship, right? Because when you are in situations like that where you know you are not safe, the one thing that you do need is somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you need a person, right? Because otherwise you disappear. You disappear, and nobody knows, and nobody can do anything, and nobody can help anything. That sequence where he's just following behind Pennytree.
Yeah.
Just because he feels slightly less alone, even if he's not with him, even if Pennytree has no idea that he's there, just him being within eyesight of him makes him feel slightly less alone and slightly less scared, is so heartbreaking. But then it makes everything about his character make sense.
Yeah.
The fact that that's all that he was looking for, and he finally gets that companionship in Pennytree, and that's why it's so devastating when he's gone, and why he needs Egg eventually, why that relationship becomes so important, because you're in this world where nobody's caring for you.
To go back to what you were saying about the repercussions of when these noble people lose their lives, I've been thinking about what Sir Lyonel Baratheon said to Dunk, where he kind of pushes back on Dunk's feelings of like, Baelor did something that was like extremely brave. And he seems the most heartbroken that Baelor passed away. And I get that there is bravery in what Baelor says. I love, he's been one of my favorite characters since I read the books. But in a couple of days, someone like, Raymond, if he were to pass away, like, no one would even know who he, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing, there's no high stakes. The realm doesn't know your name. He wasn't even knighted when he did all of that. And so there's no protection going into that trial. But Lyonel even sort of references, like, Kingsguard's not going to attack the heir to the Iron Throne. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he only didn't make it because his armor didn't fit.
Right.
He would have been fine.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So and this is not to take away what Baelor did. If he doesn't do that, Dunk is gone, right? Yeah. He doesn't live. But I think it's just a matter of life is precious and it should be applied equally.
I think even just telling the story is reinforcing that message, because it's also reinforcing the idea that like impactful stories and experiences exist everywhere.
Yeah.
Not just these big historical moments that everybody in the world will remember, right? Like the rest of Westeros is, I mean, I don't know what happens in the books. Maybe some crazy stuff happens and they become really important. I don't know. But like the west of Westeros is not checking for Duncan, right? Like they're even after this, I don't know that his name is going to be written in history books based off of this alone. Maybe, but I feel like we get to witness this story and we get to know and understand like, oh no, this is a beautiful story worth telling even without all of that fanfare around it.
Yeah.
It reminds me honestly of like when people talk about different eras in history. I always think about like civil rights, like the civil rights era, and how there's these big stories of activism and protests that are really well documented and they deserve to be. And then also you can talk to anybody's grandmother or grandfather who was alive during that time, and they will have experiences that are just as impactful because they were all there. It's just everybody's not paying attention, right, to these people. I think even him just telling the story reinforces that idea that like all of these lives matter and they all have an impact on somebody else and all of their stories are worth telling and worth remembering.
Yeah. I mean, Baelor, I think, realizes that because he remembers every single person, every knight he's been in contact with, that's been in battle with him, that's been in a tournament with him. And it's through that where Duncan realizes like, oh, this could have been like such an incredible ruler.
Yeah.
Because I think he is recognizing the value in every person, not just Highborn, not just Targaryen dynasty. This show is reminding us that niggas were not fucking with the Targaryens, bro. Y'all just had dragons. And I'm so glad that the story, Duncan did such a good job of reminding people of that. Even something as simple as, you know, earlier in the story, it's harmful, but when they tell the story of like, you know, the Targaryens and the dragons are doing the play and then the dragon gets slain, the Targaryens are so offended. You guys took over their country. you colonized them. And listen, I know people have strong feelings when we throw that word at the Targaryens, primarily because of Aegon's dream and him saving the realm. But here's what I will say, though. I think there is a lot of hubris in assuming that you had to conquer and colonize Westeros in order to save it. That line of thinking is precisely what colonization rooted their thought process in.
Yeah.
All the time.
It was literally, they were talking about saving souls. They were literally talking about
read Puritans,
spreading
that's
Christianity,
all they
trying to
talked
make
about.
sure that people made have a manifest destiny, all that nonsense.
Dude. And you know that there was self-awareness. They passed rules throughout their time there to justify their culture because they knew people in Westeros were not, they weren't vibing with it. Like, brothers marrying sisters, they weren't with that, right? What do the Targaryens do? They pass a law through religious and political factions to sort of legitimize it in the eyes of the public. Now it's not just culture, it's a rule, it's a law. It is just a reminder that they were never really welcomed here. No. And you didn't make it you didn't make it easy on yourself. There were so many civil wars on your behalf that the Westerosi people had to take the blunt of the damage, which is, I think that's insane.
And also, it doesn't help that all y'all inbreeding got y'all acting crazy. I'm sorry, but like that's honestly a big part of the problem. You guys are not a stable group of people, and it's because y'all keep having kids with your brothers and sisters. That's the reason why you guys are all insane. So, like,
bro,
I don't know if that's canon in the lore, but that's my explanation. That's the reason why y'all always like, okay, when Baelor showed up and I was like, a nice, stable, normal Targaryen royalty.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, genuinely shocked. A healthy individual? That's crazy.
Listen.
Because you guys are all insane, okay? I know people got love for Rhaenyra, and I do have love for Rhaenyra too, but I have a feeling she's about to go crazy too. I don't think... I'm like, you also have to rule well, like at the very least.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to force yourself on this group of people and insist that you are saving them, actually save them. Because the other thing about this too is like, we were talking about this, is like, you can see the deterioration. Like, Westeros not looking too hot right now.
Yeah.
Like, I was looking, I was like, recession? Like,
recession indicator.
What's going on here? This is the ghetto. This is the ghetto. Like, and yes, flea bottom and all that, it never looks great. It never looks great, but it was looking very bad.
Yeah.
It was looking very bad here. And it's presumably, because of all of that infighting that's been going on, because of the constant wars.
In the country.
Yes, it's wearing on them. Even the Targaryens themselves do not appear as lavish and set above as normal.
They're not as dripped out as
they're
they
not
were
as dripped out. Also, why are y'all out here with these regulars? I personally was like, what are you guys doing here in the mix? This place looks like a mess.
Well, this is the thing though. They don't have dragons, so they have to. They have to use and build up that social and political capital now. As opposed to when you had dragons, people were running to throw their daughters and their sons at you, because if we get a dragon, if we can marry into this, we're set for the generations upon generations. Now they gotta play the game.
It's so interesting, and it's such great storytelling on the part of George R.R. Martin, because you literally see how all of this leads to like a breaking point when it is possible for something like Robert's Rebellion to happen. Yeah. Right? Like all of this infighting, which eventually leads to the loss of the dragons, just slowly deteriorating not only like your physical prowess, but just like the social capital that you have to expend, so that it gets to a point where the Targaryens, who were such a powerful dynasty for years, are vulnerable enough to be susceptible to a coup, and it was successful. Like that, it's just a great story, honestly. One thing I really did appreciate about the Trial of the Seven is the depiction of the violence. I felt was different in this than it is in other Game of Thrones shows. And Game of Thrones always has great action sequences. And it's not that their battle scenes ever seem unrealistic. Like I always think of Battle of the Bastards, right? A very realistic portrayal. But there was something about this.
Gritty.
Exactly. It was gritty, and it was without any glory, without any honor, right? Like by the end of it, these men are literally just clamoring around.
Yeah,
there's no skill set.
Yeah.
There's nothing, there's nothing cool about it, right? Like it is pathetic looking by the end. You even see on Aryen's face when Duncan gets back up and is like, we're not done. And this is, Aryen's been so prideful this entire time. And you see just like this depletion, right? Like he is exhausted. He is tired. He does not have anything left to give. And I appreciated that. I appreciated that portrayal of what was happening, because like the dragon fight scenes are very cool, and these big battle scenes are very, very cool. But also like the reality of war and violence looks probably much more like this.
Yes.
There is nothing dignified about it. Yeah. There's no dignity in the end. It's just this.
It's interesting.
Especially when it's senseless and for nothing.
Yeah. So a lot of book fans had some frustrations with Dan and David, because the anti-war message is something that George R. Martin really cares about, right? He was protesting against the Vietnam War. He was very much against that. And you see it throughout his work. But there were moments where there was like some slight feeling of glory.
Yeah, it was glamorized.
You know, as opposed to what we're seeing in Duncan and Egg. It's like, nah, bro, it's
just sad.
It's tragic.
Yeah, it's just sad.
And it's a silly concept when you take a step back to think about it. There's an absurdity to it that I think Martin does such a good job of showing. Like, even when they are, telling what the rules are when Arion first mentions it, and Baylor's saying it out loud, and Makar's like, y'all dead ass? Like, it's
We're
like,
doing this.
you know what I'm saying? Like, there's this sense of like, it sounds a little kooky,
Because it is.
So you saying that, I feel like it's spot on to, I think, what George was trying to get across in all of his work.
That is very interesting. And I think that's a very valid criticism.
Yeah, anti-war. And when you do go to war, it is the working and lower class people that are always hurt the most.
Yeah.
One thing that I did want to say that I feel like is just like a bit of a reminder, Duncan Egg is a reminder to everyone that dragons were never the thing that made Game of Thrones popular. That was never, like, when y'all talk about like the golden age of the storytelling, people bring up season 6, but season 6 was never the best season. Seasons 1 through 4 had the best writing. Season 6 was great because of there's a lot of payoff for what we were building up to. But the build up was some of the greatest writing we have ever seen in the history of television. Just random dialogue that felt so effortless that you could just sit and just watch for days. I've seen people...
And then like 3 years later, they'd be like, remember that minute detail in that random conversation?
I've seen people clip together and put like a little video collage of just people in the King's Landing sitting around and meeting, right? Like when like the king meets with his council, and then because there's just, the dialogue is so great. You can just watch it and it's just so good. Daenerys, we had a couple of scenes like in seasons 2 and 3, but they were still kind of like baby dragons, right? That was never what was pulling people in. There was this anticipation, like we know we're going to get something crazy because we see them growing. But in the meantime, we were still so satisfied.
No, and it was also the political drama.
Yeah.
And the political drama was built up primarily through the dialogue. Like, you really had to be... This is one of the first shows that really taught me this. Like,
pay attention.
I don't know how I was watching TV before Game of Thrones.
That's a fact.
But watching Game of Thrones, I was like, oh, I really have to listen to what they're saying.
Yes.
Like, I really need to know.
Like, it is through, and obviously, like, we're going to sound like a bunch of millennial Gen Z people, whatever, but like, it is through Game of Thrones that I was able to like build up the skill set and muscle to watch other like goated shows. Like, I built the skill set to pay attention for 60 minutes, to not look at my phone at all and lock in. And then I was like, I need more of this. That's when I started watching The Wire. I got into Breaking Bad.
Just finished The
Sopranos.
It changes everything, because you can also really tell when a person passively watched Game of Thrones.
Bro, it's actually quite annoying.
And I'm not like, you can passively watch it and probably still enjoy it. Like,
Sure.
you can get the gist, you can get the broad strokes, but the story, you don't really understand what makes it so good unless you really pay attention to the details.
Yeah. Yep. All right, y'all. Well, those are our thoughts on A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg Targaryen. We want to know what you guys think about this first season. Let us know in the comment sections below. Give us your thoughts. We'd love to hear what you guys think. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Things that you love, things you didn't love. We will be back with JJK. There was a break for a couple of anime because I didn't see any new free run episodes either. So I think there was some scheduling stuff, I think, in Japan.
It is a holiday or something.
Yeah, who knows? But it'll be back this Thursday. So we'll be back recording then. But yeah, with that, we will see you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.